Coming up on Network Africa, several countries ban flights from South Africa over the discovery of a new variant of the coronavirus. The United Nations sends a fact-finding team to Ethiopia's Tigray region to assess humanitarian needs. Plus, pre-electoral tension rises in the Central African Republic as violence threatens the presidential poll. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Layo Adegoke. Several countries have banned flights from South Africa over the discovery of a new variant of the coronavirus. South Africa's health department said last week that a new genetic mutation of COVID-19 had been found in the country and may be responsible for a recent surge in infections. The fast-spreading strain has also been reported in Britain. Switzerland has ordered people who have entered the country from South Africa or the UK since December 14th to undergo a 10-day quarantine and impose the general entry ban on foreign nationals from those countries. Germany also says it is planning to impose restrictions on flights, and Turkey has suspended flights from Britain, the Netherlands, Denmark and also South Africa. In addition, El Salvador says it is banning travelers who have been in the UK or South Africa in the last 30 days or whose flights included a layover in them. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization says that reports of new variants of the COVID-19 virus in South Africa and the United Kingdom are natural and expected. However, Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus says that there is no evidence so far that it is more likely to cause severe disease or mortality.
In the past few days, there have been reports of new variants of the COVID-19 virus in South Africa and the United Kingdom. Viruses mutate over time. That's natural and expected. The UK has reported that this new variant transmits more easily, but there is no evidence so far that it's more likely to cause severe disease or mortality. WHO is working with scientists to understand how these generic changes affect how the virus behaves. The bottom line is that we need to suppress transmission of all SARS-CoV-2 viruses as quickly as we can. The more we allow it to spread, the more opportunity it has to change. Now is the time to double down on the public health basics that have seen many countries suppress the virus effectively. There are a number of groups that continue to push a narrative that this virus only affects the old, and that with vaccines on the horizon, we can relax. COVID-19 affects children and adults in a variety of ways, and it can attack every system in the body. And a growing number of people suffer with...
You can ask questions in those...
Well, let's get more on this story from our South Africa Bureau Chief, Betty Dibia. She joins us now. Hello, Betty. Thank you for speaking to us. How are South Africans reacting to this discovery of a new variant of the coronavirus?
Well, I guess South Africans are worried, but South Africans are still trying to make the best of what's left of Christmas or what's left of the year. They're already, like the rest of the world, they're already so tired, about the COVID, all the COVID issues that they're hearing. But they're listening, they're trying to see, some of those who are bothered are trying to see how this will affect their lives, if there will be a change. Although the health minister, Dr. Zweli Mkhize, during that briefing where he explained what's been discovered by the scientists, told the people that there is really no need to panic, because we know that this particular variant is more virulent. They're now recording higher case rate, but it's not been established whether it's more deadly, more dangerous than what we had originally, but that the case management strategy or the plan of the government remains the same for now, except they're advised otherwise by the scientists who are still trying to figure out the characteristics or the nature of this particular variant.
Now, tell us, Betty, like you mentioned, many people are worried, especially as the Christmas holiday is approaching. What is Christmas going to look like now, with this latest development in South Africa?
Well, I wouldn't say that Christmas has been cancelled in South Africa like you have in the UK, but a lot of things have been cancelled. A lot of things have been scaled down. The celebrations, the raves, the rages, and the revelers will have, many of the celebrations that they're going to have, if any, in a very much scaled down size. So the government is still appealing to the people to be responsible, because as the health minister keeps saying, that the non-pharmaceutical intervention, wear your face mask, sanitize, wash your hands, keep a distance, travel only if you have to, that's the best way to ensure that we slow down, if not, contain the spread of this virus. So they're appealing to people. Already bed spaces are being taken up in places where some of the field hospitals that had been established much earlier have already been decommissioned. So now hospitals in areas like the Western Cape, in the Eastern Cape, they're being taken up by people. And when the point of hospitalization, remember, it's not only COVID, there are other ailments where people need care. That reduces the balance for many, many of the care that people, or the kinds of care that people get to have. That puts a strain on the system. And this is celebration time. A lot of people are still going to drink. A lot of people are going to come in with trauma cases into the hospitals. That's going to suffer as well. That's going to put a strain on the government's ability or hospitals' ability to take care of the people who, may need COVID-related care. So these are some of the things that even the January 8 celebrations at the 109th birthday of the ANC, which is usually the 8th of January, has been cancelled after the briefing from the health minister saying, look, given the situation, we don't know how January will be like. If on the average we're getting about 8,000, 9,000, 10,000 number of confirmed cases per day. So in that regard, or considering that, they cancelled the January 8th celebration of the ANC, the ruling party. Yes.
All right, then. Thank you so much. We can only hope for, better and brighter days. Thank you, our South Africa Bureau Chief, Betty Dibia. Thank you for your reporting.
Thank you very much.
Now moving on, still on coronavirus, as confirmed cases of COVID-19 rise in Nigeria in what experts are describing as a possible second wave. There's cheering news of an invention from the Nigerian Institute of Medical Research. The institute has unveiled the SARS-CoV-2 detection assay, also known as SCODA. SCODA, an indigenous invention which has been validated by 3 other labs, is credited with the power to analyze over 300 samples for COVID-19 and give results in 57 minutes.
Nationally and internationally.
Staff of the Nigerian Institute of Medical Research and their guests. Here for the yearly retreat of the Institute. The guest lecturer exposes some of the effects of COVID-19 on mental health with an admonition that the aftermath must not be ignored.
Right now in the psychiatric hospital, more than we have ever seen before, we have explosion of substance abuse, especially for those working where people were dying.
Considering the dire warnings of an imminent second wave of COVID-19, it's a high point indeed when NIMA unveils its new test kit manufactured in Nigeria.
We came up with a test kit that can challenge any of its equivalents in the world. With this one, in 57 minutes, that is less than an hour, you can do up to 384 tests if your machine has that capacity.
The conversation hovers around a second COVID-19 wave and what to do if it takes hold.
Oftentimes when the second wave comes, it's even more dangerous than the first because it's going to catch people unawares.
We need to continue to drum it to the ears of our people that this COVID-19 exists.
Participants believe some of the necessities to beat a second wave are to scale up testing and reopen decommissioned isolation centers around the country. Mary Alale Yusuf, Channels Television News.
Well, the COVID-19 pandemic destroyed many small businesses in Mogadishu, but cash support and financial skills training by aid agencies is helping hundreds of women revive their businesses. International Organization for Migration, IOM, estimates that over 1,000 family members will be indirectly impacted and that it will also affect the local economy.
Business was good for Nasima Bashir selling fabric at her shop in Mogadishu. Then COVID-19 hit and her supplies and clients dried up, making it a daily struggle for her to support 15 children.
Coronavirus has affected our business. Things are not what they used to be. Price of fabric became very expensive when the airports were locked down, and there were no customers because the government ordered business to close. Coronavirus has affected my business in a big way.
Her story is a familiar one in the Somali capital, where the pandemic destroyed many small businesses. But cash support and financial skills training by aid agencies is helping hundreds of women turn around their fortunes.
Previously, I did not have any knowledge about running a business, but I gained good knowledge from the training. I didn't know how to keep records or plan my business, but now I can record my business's income and expenses. I gained a lot during the training, which lasted 5 days.
The International Organization for Migration partnered with the German Foreign Office and local government to help women own small businesses like Nasima's. About 186 business women received cash support and training in financial management.
This seminar teaches them how to manage, record, plan and balance their income according to their livelihoods. We also discuss COVID-19 and how they can protect themselves.
Years of conflict and the threat of Al-Qaeda-linked Islamists battling to overthrow the government leave many Somalis dependent on aid. It is hoped programs like this will empower women to support themselves.
The United Nations says 2 interagency assessment teams have been sent to Ethiopia's Tigray region to assess the humanitarian needs following the official approval from the federal government. UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric says the missions were officially approved by the federal government last Saturday. One team is destined to visit Shire and another will go to Mekele, and both missions will last for a week.
And an update from Ethiopia, where I'm pleased to tell you that our humanitarian colleagues confirmed that 2 interagency assessment teams are expected to enter Tigray today, following official approval from the federal government last Saturday. One team is destined to visit Shire and another will go to Mekele. The aim of the missions, which are expected to last a week, is to assess the humanitarian needs. In the meantime, humanitarian response plan for northern Ethiopia has been updated. We now seek $116.5 million until the end of January 2021. The goal is to address the immediate needs of an estimated 2.3 million people, including 1.3 million people impacted by the recent conflict. The plan is currently 46% funded with an outstanding gap of almost $64 million.
Still ahead on Network Africa. Welcome back to the program. The United Nations says a coalition of armed groups in the Central African Republic carried out simultaneous attacks and attempted to reach the capital Bangui over the weekend. Now, this comes as political and security tensions increased ahead of the country's elections scheduled to take place on December the 27th.
That political and security tensions. Turning to the Central African Republic, our colleagues at the mission there tell us that political and security tensions increased over the weekend in the midst of the ongoing electoral campaign for the presidential and legislative elections, which are scheduled to take place, as you all know, on December 27th. A coalition of armed groups simultaneously attacked 4 prefectures in western and southern part of the country. These groups also attempted to reach the capital Bangui. UN peacekeepers responded proactively and exchanged fires with armed groups in several areas. No damage was reported. And on Sunday, the mission and members of the G5 group, consisting of the main international partners in the CAR, issued a communique condemning the incidents and calling on stakeholders to stop the violence.
Well, news just reaching us has it that Nigeria's president has extended the mandate of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 till March 2021. President Muhammadu Buhari gave the directive during a meeting with the task force at the State House in Abuja, where a team submitted its end-of-the-year 2020 report on its activities. The task force was set up to coordinate national response to the COVID-19 pandemic and make recommendations from time to time on the appropriate actions to curb the spread of coronavirus in Nigeria. Well, we're still keeping our eyes on the Central African Republic. In the meantime, President Faustin Archange Touadera has rejected opposition calls to postpone the December 27th election following days of fighting outside the capital, Bangui. Now, this comes after reports that Rwanda and Russia have sent troops and supplies to the CAR to help counter the surge in violence by rebel groups ahead of Sunday's poll.
Security forces and UN peacekeepers have been battling rebels who have occupied towns and roads outside the capital. The authorities accuse former President Francois Bozize, whose presidential candidacy was rejected by the courts, of plotting a coup with several militant groups. But a spokesman for Bozize's KNK party has denied the accusations. President Touadera, who is seeking re-election, came to office in 2016 after Mr. Bozize was overthrown in a rebellion 3 years earlier. He has struggled to restore stability and parts of the country remain beyond government control. Presidential candidate Anissa Georges Dologuli, a supporter of Bozize, says it is impossible to hold free and fair elections while violence rages around Bangui.
I am surprised by the belligerent logic of President Touadera with his various pronouncements. Those who suffer the consequences are the people. We must stop and talk in order to find out what is happening, what conditions we need in order to bring peace to the country, in order to go to the polls. Elections are just a few days away, and what is going on makes it impossible to hold elections.
The opposition alliance called Court 2020, which includes Bozize, says violence is preventing presidential and parliamentary candidates from campaigning and had led to the destruction of electoral material and threats in almost all provincial centers without providing details. The United Nations Security Council also condemned the violence by armed groups and other militia, even though the council urged the elections to go ahead.
The National Security Council condemned in the strongest terms violations of the peace agreement and violence perpetrated by armed groups and other militia. The National Security Council called on all actors to urgently cease hostile actions and work towards ensuring conditions conducive to the holding of the upcoming elections. The National Security Council considered that the elections must be held on 27 December in full respect of the constitutional timelines and condemned all attempt to conduct the CAR to a new political transition, violating the CAR constitution.
The CAR government said on Sunday that Rwanda and Russia have taken steps to provide effective support, and the Rwandan Defense Ministry confirmed that it had indeed sent troops to the country.
And as we end the program today, let's go to Cote d'Ivoire to meet an entrepreneur, Sarah Koulibaly, who was frustrated by seeing store shelves in the country lined with almost exclusively light-skinned dolls. Now, she decided to launch black alternatives so that the African child can find their own identity in play.
Preschool children in Jacquevis, Cote d'Ivoire, are lining up to get their Christmas gifts from Santa Claus days before D-Day. Before now, dolls would be fair-skinned, dressed in Western clothes, and look quite different from the little girls at school. But this year, Neymar Dolls is breaking the mold. The company's CEO, Sarah Koulibaly, is on hand to supply Santa with her brand of black dolls with names from different regions of the country, and all wearing a traditional cotton fabric worn by women across all of West Africa. The most popular is a 2-year-old girl with plump features called Ajoba, which means born on Tuesday in the Akan language of the southeast. Neymar Dolls was launched 5 years ago to fill a gap in the toy market. An architect by training, Koulibaly says demand for black dolls following African fashion is high and growing. She aims to mass-produce the dolls first for Côte d'Ivoire market, then for sub-Saharan Africa, and eventually the rest of the world. We've already seen in other sectors like cosmetics or air products how the claim of an identity can change the course of the market. We've seen it. So when African women started to complain about the fact that their skin color did not exist in the cosmetics industry, there was a total revolution in that market. I want to do the same thing in another sector, but basing myself on the same argument. For the moment, the dolls are designed at home in Koulibaly's Abidjan studio, made in China and Spain with different levels of quality to suit different pockets. They are then dressed, prepared and boxed by more than 20 women who work at Neymar Dolls, and then distributed for sale all over the country. We don't produce enough dolls relative to demand. That is why we want our own factory. That is what justifies that decision. Because today, we're convinced that, well, we can see by producing abroad, we can see how quickly we run out of stock, how much demand there is for the product. The company makes 32 different products. Out of those, 6 of them cost less than 10,000 CFA. When she first started in 2015, Neymar Dolls produced 500 dolls per quarter. Today, she has the capacity to sell 150,000 dolls, depending on demand. But because the company relies on imports, Koulibaly says she can't grow as fast as she would have loved. Initially, it was just a way to make good business. But after seeing the way that the children identified with her dolls, Koulibaly says her main objective now is to give children the means to make good decisions by developing a positive identity about themselves. Beyond that, she also hopes that racial variety in the doll market worldwide will lead to less discrimination for future generations.
And that's where we end the program today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Adegoke.